Guys, starting out the Bradenton CRA meeting, it is 2:02 p.m. A special meeting is called to order. Citizens' comments not on the agenda. Actually, the Carrie Price, she's got HEM 5B, demo, 1 item 6B, realize Bradenton. Is that
That is on the agenda,
all of it?
yes.
Okay. All right. Hi, Carrie. How are you? All right. Then,
I'm sorry, Ms. Price, did you need anything regarding the Village of the Arts, or are you just here for the later for the agenda? I didn't know if you were coming. Okay.
No, she filled up.
come on up and take the one that's not on. You got one that's not on the agenda? Oh, okay. All right.
Perfect.
Okay, very good. Then Keep Manatee Beautiful Partnership Request, FY 22-23.
Ms. Jennifer Hoffman, the director of Keep Manatee Beautiful, is here with us today to kind of request, make a proposal, and then I would like your guidance after the presentation.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Jennifer Hoffman, Keep Manatee Beautiful. I've worked with most of you for the 5 years that I've been here, so it's our turn to talk trash again. Every year, we have been lucky enough to do our Earth Day with you, and this year we are increasing our partnership with you to not only do Earth Day or a similar event that's that big, using essentially $15,000 to improve a neighborhood within the CRAs. We are also going to be taking and making sure that the National Arbor Day is taken care of. We will have a Great American cleanup within the CRAs. We will have an International Coastal cleanup within the CRAs. We are going to have 2 First Saturday cleanups a year and provide leadership and supplies for groups within your areas. We obviously do the Adopt a Roads, Adopt a Shores. We are starting an Adopt a Park program. So any parks that fall within the CRA, we are going to be trying to get groups to adopt the parks to help your staff in keeping them clean on a regular basis. And something that is new even to Katarina is we are hiring a brand new person that will be starting this next month. And part of their job is to use an average of 10 hours a week on your CRA. What this is going to mean is approximately 10 hours a week, they'll either be planning the programming that we already have listed, or they will be out recruiting adoption groups in the area, providing the people who don't want to become adoption groups with one-off volunteer opportunities. A lot of businesses choose to do that and then turn into adoption groups. And they will also be working with the court systems. We have a lot of the people who need community service hours. So at least 1 4-hour period a week, they will be out with community service people picking up spots that get needed attention at that point. So I'm very excited to be able to add that into what we had discussed prior to of what we would be able to do within the CRA. This is what we have also agreed to do with the City of Palmetto. The City of Palmetto has put together a $30,000 contract with us to do this for the next year. That is what I came to Katarina with. Since we were already doing a lot of it, we could add into it and make sure that things happened. And for me, the proof is always in the numbers. For those of you who know us, know that we do a litter index every year. For those of you not in the know of the litter index, it is through, the standards are through Keep America Beautiful. It's a 1 through a 4, 1 meaning, pretty much no trash, 2 meaning one person could clean it up, 3 is it would take a group of concerted effort to clean it up, and 4 means it would take machinery to clean it up. We did not do it over the 2 years of our COVID experience. So the last one was in 2019, and we had a 1.22 as a community. That was the highest we had had in quite a long time. This year, 2 years later, we had a 1.25, which is not as bad as I thought it would be, honestly. But here is the eye-opener. Bradenton had the worst at 1.67. It is a lot of factors, more homelessness, less FDOT availability within the entire county, not just this community. People stopped doing a lot of the volunteer work that they were doing prior to COVID. They haven't come back out yet. But that number to me just tells me that there is that much more of a reason for us to get more involved than we have in the past. So I'm really excited to be able to do this with you.
Great.
Any questions?
So, Mr. Chairman, the board, so Ms. Hoffman came to us approximately a month ago or so, and happy to report that the Earth Day was slightly less than we had budgeted. So she came at approximately 14,000 instead of the 15 that we had budgeted for. It was another successful event, and she mentioned the partnership that she's doing with Palmetto and requested to see if the Bradenton CRA would be interested in something similar. So her request would be in the amount of $30,000. We can look into if this is something you're interested in potentially out of the 3 CRAs or 2, we can look at all that stuff and bring it back to you. I just need some guidance if this is something you're interested in based on what Ms. Hoffman covered, that it would be covered in addition to a major event that we've been sponsoring. So then I can take that back and plug it in if the board wishes to go this way.
Okay. I have one question, because I know you've done, we talked about Adopt a Shore programs. What about Adopt a Road programs?
We have that right now.
In Bradenton?
In Bradenton, Bradenton covers most of our Adopt-A-Roads. Right now, I believe we have 50-some Adopt-A-Road groups in the city of Bradenton. I'm not sure how many of those are in CRA. I can probably
It would
pull that
have
out.
to be in the CRA, is what I'm
Right,
talking about.
right. But that is one of the things that I'm excited about having the new employee is they'll be able to dedicate that time within the CRA to recruit new groups, to run specific volunteer events, one-time cleanups for companies, that type of thing. Specific to the CRA, they will have 10 hours dedicated of their time each week.
Mr.
Just
Chairman,
for this.
Yes.
are you done?
I was going to say, and the reason why it would be important in all of our CRAs to do that is because whatever's on the road winds up in the water.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Most people are shocked when I tell them that the storm drains do not have a filter.
Yeah.
What goes from the street into the storm drain goes
Right.
into the creek, goes into the bay, goes into the ocean.
Right.
So it's absolutely imperative to stop it at the street.
Okay, because that'd be something I'd like to see beefed up,
Okay.
considering the statistics you said about trash. Mrs.
Absolutely.
Barnaby?
I was just going to say, I think all of this sounds wonderful. I think that, I'm not sure that there's anyone on the board that wouldn't want to see our town look better. So I'm more than comfortable with you working with our executive director and if we need to put a placeholder in or if we need to have some documentation brought back to us when we finalize the budget, to me, that would be the way to do it. But I think you're on the right track.
Thank you. It would be a placeholder, and then we would do a contract and bring it back for your review and approval.
Does that need to be voted on right now?
No, I think we're just saying that
Yeah,
philosophically, we
I
think
if
that's
we
the
had
way to
any
go.
objection, we bring it up now, but
Yeah.
it sounds great to me.
Okay.
Wonderful. I look forward to working
Thank
with
you.
you guys again this year.
Thank you.
Okay, all CRAs. A, FY 22-23 proposed CRA budget items, discussion and guidance.
So today, I'm asking again for your guidance on some items that are major, that are the more larger amounts in each of our CRAs. As you know, at the last meeting, we eliminated Fund 134, and all the activities under 134 will be moved into each of the other 3 funds. So in your agenda packet, the very first page deals with more of the administrative charges and the staffing requests that I'm making. Right now, we have 3.5 staff. Myself, Miss Kaiser, who's been with us for 21 years, and Miss Jean G. Farmer, our public art coordinator, is part-time right now. And we have a program manager, Mr. Mignon, who we hired recently. The work that we are performing continues to grow. As the city grows, the needs have grown. We have many programs, many requests, both from development and the community, and we're trying to keep up. I looked at different programs, CRA programs throughout the Florida, and out of the 10 that HR and I analyzed, we were the second understaffed compared to all the other 10. I'd be happy, I'll put this up on the. So these are several that we looked at, whether they were closer in proximity to here, closer to our city population, size of the CRA. So if you, we're the ones highlighted in orange. So if you look, our size is about 1,500 square feet, acres. Our budget is about $11 million, and we have 3.5 staff. So if you compare it, Clearwater has 6 employees currently, and they only have a size of 488 acres. So when I started dividing of the number of acres with number of employees, you can see the only other CRA that per employee you're managing acres is the city of Tampa. They have a staff of 15, and they have 8 districts. So the reason why I bring it up is because of bandwidth. I want to be able to be not only reactive, but more importantly, proactive. I want to be able to be proactive to your needs, to the community needs, to what the city needs are. And we're struggling right now to keep up with the amount of work. So my recommendation would be that we make Mr. Mignon with a focus in the Bradenton CRA and call him the downtown manager. So anything related to the downtown Old Manatee, that everything kind of he would be focused at, and that we hire another program manager whose focus will be the CCRA and the 14th Street CRA. And my second recommendation would be to make Mrs. Farmer a full-time employee. Right now, she's only 20 hours, but almost every week she has to go overtime. So the cost of paying somebody overtime are 1.5 of the salary. So I think there will be a benefit to make her a full-time employee with all these requirements now with public art coming up, as well add to her existing scope of work to do events, to help out with anything events and marketed related, so that some of that weight some of that work is transferred to her.
Because I was going to say that I think after the initial setup on public art, it'll be less work. So as long as it's going to overflow into other areas, that's fine.
She won't just be public art, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
My thought is that when you put your budget together, if we can have job descriptions that would clarify Mr. Munyon and the additional responsibilities with Mrs. Farmer, and then what the new program manager would be doing with the other 2 CRAs, I think that would be very helpful to have, and I would like to see a salary range for those.
So we're going to pass out the job description for the program manager. This is what currently Mr. Mignon has. So the only difference would be that it would be the same activities for him, just with a focus in the downtown and Old Manatee. The range for this position that HR came up with is from $68,000 to $102,000. So it would be within that range based on their qualifications and experience.
And that's not that's from HR.
That's from HR, and that's not from me, correct?
You say Old Manatee is that part of the central CRA though?
That's part of Bradenton CRA.
Yeah.
It goes that far over?
Mhm. It goes to 15th, yeah. So yes, this job description was put together by HR, and the salary range based on whatever tools they use to create.
Okay, any more discussion?
So I just need guidance if this is something, because that would affect our budget, so I need to know.
Well, I don't know about other members of the board, but I think having additional staff will alleviate some of the complaints that we hear in terms of things being timely. It's kind of hard sometimes for one person to do the job of 2 or 2.5 or 3. And then comparable to other areas that have, you know, the square miles and number of citizens in their area compared to that. I think it's time for the city of Bradenton to, just as other things we're negotiating, kind of meet the standards of the current times.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think you hear anybody saying, don't look at this.
I just want to be cautious about growing to be too much staff. I think probably the argument could be made for another person, but, you know, if you feel like you really need a 1.5, I mean, I'm okay with it, but I don't want to just keep adding people. I really want to be lean and mean.
It sounds like this is what will make us whole, so to speak. I doubt very seriously we're going to try to meet the number, like some of the areas that have 15.
Right.
You know, that doesn't fit
I'm just,
for us.
I'm a small
We're
government
growing.
person, so that's all I'm saying.
Well, we got to pay people to get what we get.
Well, like you said, no one's saying no, so.
Okay,
I mean,
I appreciate
no one
that.
threw a tomato, so.
Yeah.
The other question I do also want to bring up is this last year we did a equal funding of everyone. So 33% from the Central, 33% from 14th Street CRA, 33% from Bradenton CRA. So for staffing and any other expenses that are for among everybody. So METV, supplies, printing, anything needing for meetings, staff time, all that stuff would go under shared expenses, if I may call it. So, and we had an equal split. I wanted to see if you still feel that is appropriate, if we want to go back to a model of, let's say, Bradenton pays 50 and the other 25 and 25 because there's more in Bradenton and maybe there is more work to be done in Bradenton. I just kind of wanted to throw it back to get some guidance, what you felt.
I'm concerned of the optics that many times people will look and see what part is paying the most money, and they think that's where all of the resources and that's where all of the attention is focused. If every CRA pays the fair share, the same amount, we can't be accused of favoritism.
Are we being equal or equitable, though? I mean, some of the
Yeah.
CRAs are making way less
That's-
money.
Well, I think it depends on, I think it's best to be true to it. If you're spending 50% of your time on the Bradenton CRA, then it should be 50%. And if you're a quarter of it's on one, I mean, when I was on DDA, that was just the executive director would just kind of do it by gut, you know, just to be fair. But
I would say we're equally. I mean, we're treating I mean, there's months where one would be more heavily, and other months that another one would be more heavily. So, I would be shifting Mr. Mignon's salary and everything to the Bradenton, so that entirely, since that will be his focus, but then the rest of us could be, if you want, still 33, 33, 33.
What do you feel is equitable?
Either way, there can be an argument made for both, and I would be comfortable truly with both. So if you all are,
Well, just so you know, I mean, I'm not, whatever the board wants to do is fine with me, but when you're looking at, the CCRA is about 1.2, the 14th Street CRA is about 1, and the downtown CRA is well over 5. So if someone could make the case, you know, is downtown getting, I'll do whatever anyone wants, but that will be said, it's like you know,
if
we
you,
shouldn't be paying as much because we don't have as much.
You need to figure out which one you want to defend.
Right.
Because we're going to get criticized either way. So figure out which one you feel more comfortable defending.
Right.
okay.
I do like the idea of having the new person being in charge of the 2 CRAs that are similar in meeting slum and blight removal, as opposed to the downtown CRA, which is maintaining the already removed slum and blight. It's like 2
And-
different jobs.
And continuing the amazing redevelopment that is taking
Yeah.
place, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I will come back with an answer. I'll give it a lot of thought, and I'll let you know next meeting what my final proposal will be. Lastly, I wanted to make a request. We haven't done it in the past, but I spoke with Mr. Perry and our finance department. CRA staff are using city resources to accomplish some of our goals, such as finance, cutting our checks, running our invoices, paying our salaries, IT. So I felt we should give back to the city for the administrative services that we are using. I have asked for them to do an estimate of how much maybe that will be, but I wanted to see if the CRA board is favorable for us moving forward and reimbursing the city for some of those.
I'm more than comfortable with that.
Okay.
I think it's appropriate.
Yeah,
Okay.
since we're basically separate.
Completely fair.
Okay. So moving on into the details, the first one we have the central CRA. As you see there, it's about 1.4 million that is going to be coming
Can
from.
we display this on the overhead, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, so Manatee County, we're good, and city and rent adds up to about 1.4 million. I'm also estimating that some of what is gonna kind of projects that are gonna be carried forward will also be in the amount of 1.96 million. So I estimate, and I'll have all these final figures for the next meeting. My estimate is that we're gonna be able to have $3.3 million, including projects that were not completed this year that are moving to the next year, plus these 3 sources of revenue for this year.
We're
So-
on the central CRA?
Yes.
Okay.
So so these are the larger ticket items where I kind of wanted to see how you felt. We have the very first one, the community visioning project. So we're in the process of finalizing the RFQ to go out so we can hire a consultant that will update our master plans and engage with the community into a visioning session. And that is consistent for all 3 CRAs. We have $55,000. I'm still waiting final numbers from Public Works for Normaloid Park maintenance. Code enforcement, 25,000. For community policing, I just put in what my proposal was to that email to you a few weeks ago, and we do have a community workshop, a workshop coming up on the 19th, so that number may change based on your guidance. Demo services, we can plug a number in there. I brought this forward, this budget, to the Central CRA Advisory Board last month, and their recommendation was to focus on land acquisition, because they feel we should be more focused on affordable housing, on purchasing slum and blighted properties and turning them into something better that will bring the neighborhoods up. So their recommendation was to reduce public art. It was budgeted before for $100,000, and now their recommendation was to budget it for 25, and then increase and put more emphasis again into the land acquisition, which this current year we have budgeted $950. In terms of park improvements, we had budgeted for this year $150,000 for both Love Park and MLK Junior Park. My recommendation is based on costs that we up it up $20,000 to $170. New sidewalks, we have it budgeted this year for $200K, so I want your guidance if you're still interested into keeping this project in the Central CRA. And we have our projects and grants, which under that we have Miller's Market that we have approved, Habitat for Humanity as a placeholder until we come back to you with something else, Keep Manatee Beautiful. And then, as you know, we're working on the 9th Avenue West commercial corridor redevelopment plan. The consultant will be coming back in a few months with some recommendations, so I want to make sure whatever those recommendations may be, that we have money to implement them. Community events, I also want to reserve money for implementation. I would recommend that we put money in for implementation of the visioning plan. So again, once we get an update of the master plans, there's going to be to-dos, and I think it is critical that we think ahead and we put money into a fund like that.
Miller's Market is under the CCRA or the Bradenton CRA?
You are correct. Yes, I will move it into the Bradenton CRA. I appreciate that.
It's supposed to be under the Bradenton?
It is. It's right across on the cusp of that other street. So in my head, it's in the CCRA,
I
but
know.
geographically.
It does, it's.
So thank you for catching
Oh,
that.
because I remember how they chopped up Ward 5.
And one of you yesterday also recommended that we put in a line item in each CRA for affordable housing projects. So I just kind of want to hear, as a board, some guidance on what you'd like to see on the 24th when we bring it back with details.
Looks good to me.
Board Member Coker, you know a lot about how art was done in the past with the DDA. I'm kind of concerned about dropping the public art to 25,000. Does that sound like that's a pretty reasonable?
Well, the only thing I will say is that the thing is, it's coming from them, telling
I
us
agree.
what they would
I agree,
prefer.
but I'm just asking.
I know, I mean, I like public art, but if,
The
here's,
priorities are different, just as it was in the past.
exactly,
Yes.
but I hate to say, oh, well, we know better.
Well, no, I just wanted to have an idea. Is $25,000 a couple of pieces of art, or is
Oh,
that
no.
just
No.
half of one? That's what I mean,
It's
I
gonna
don't.
be, it could
Probably
be.
about one.
it's-
Well, it
Depends on what it is.
Depends on what it is. You could do
But-
flags, like if do you have light poles that you could put flags on to identify the neighborhood, or, I mean,
Is it?
And this is only for 1 year, so if
yeah. we can
after
always
this 1
change it.
year, in the neighborhood and the CRA advisory committee comes forward and, you know, because I can guarantee what's going to happen is that there will be public art put in another area of the city as well. Why didn't we get that? Because you told us to cut your
Well,
public
this
art
time
money.
We have a very clear explanation to that, but,
Yeah.
okay, I get it.
And you might be able to do some sidewalk,
it is-
crosswalk
it
art
is-
or something, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
expensive.
It's definitely a priority to look at the slum and blight more so. That is a priority, just like it has always
Yeah,
been.
and again,
to
it's
Mrs.
only a
Barnaby's-
12-month
year.
tool.
And to what
can
you
live
just
with that.
said, somebody did come at the Public Art Advisory Board and actually complained, why don't we have any public art? So I do anticipate we will get that.
Again, figure out what you want to get beat up for, people.
You remember how I responded when I saw the little dots?
Yeah. So let me work the numbers, see maybe, I mean, if we have enough money, maybe I can do a compromise, but I just wanted you to be aware of what their comments were.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at, you got $250,000 down for Habitat for Humanity. You know, is that really what we want to do at this point, or, I mean, I'm not saying I don't want to vote up or down, but there's wiggle room there.
Yeah, and I think it'd be important to see what is brought in when they come in. If she, as I understand it, that's just a placeholder.
Absolutely.
Right.
But the thing I will say that what I like about Habitat for Humanity is it is helping people, you know, get in to own a home, as opposed to giving money to a developer that's going to do the affordable house. I'd like to see a little mix of both.
And I like the way they don't just, okay, let's all get together and build this home, put you in it, bye. They hang in there with those families, so
I like
that's a
Habitat.
good placeholder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So, next one?
So you're okay with kind of the direction that we're going? Any other ideas, any other projects that you may have come up with?
Oh, I had a question,
Yes,
sorry. Now these, so these are new sidewalks?
This would be new.
Okay, so-
We are not allowed to, legally, we cannot repair sidewalks because that's already budgeted and planned for by the city.
Okay.
So these are,
But the thing I'm questioning is, wasn't that something that impact fees could be used for? Am I wrong, Patrick?
The only
I
thing,
think that's a Rudisill question.
For,
that
are we,
is ruled,
sorry,
Oh, okay.
are we saying for sidewalks?
Yeah, new sidewalks, can we use impact fee money for that?
That's something that we have talked about some in the past, and possibly.
I just, you know, would hate to see us use up this money if, because I know they have a hard time spending all the
Well,
impact.
there's sidewalks to school through the MPO where you can get sidewalk money. My question is, I would like to have a report showing us what we've done so far, and I know there have been difficulty securing the product and supplies and that sort of thing, but we put a great deal of emphasis on sidewalks. I'd like to see what we've been able to accomplish so far. And I also know that the cost expanded exponentially, but I think that that's important for us to have when we're talking about doing additional sidewalks. Well, we had a very ambitious plan. Where are we at on that plan?
Are we talking about the 14th Street CRA? Because that's the only one that we have
Yeah.
paid, that the
In the
CRA
ci-
has
in
paid.
the
In the
This is
city? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
this is city.
Well, I think we need to look at the citywide, but I also think we need to look at you know, what our marching orders were, how much of that has been done?
Right.
How much did that cost? What still has to be done
And
before?
there is a plan all around Manatee Elementary already, and
we're wandering into city business.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Mr. Chairman, but I am interested in what Mr.
Yeah,
McClellan
we'll
has
see
to
where
say,
we are.
so,
I-
sorry.
As far as the work around Manatee Manatee Elementary, That is similar to the project that's currently being constructed right now out at Manatee High School. It's a Sidewalks to School program that is being funded by the FDOT. So that is in their funding mechanism for next year, so that will be a project that will be happening next fiscal year.
But,
Okay.
but we will need information on the 14th Street projects that we talked about.
The 14th Street project all the survey work has been done. The next is, it has to be designed.
Okay, so we don't have any concrete down on the ground anywhere there right now?
Not as part of that project, no.
Okay, I'm just asking. Thank you.
And I know sometimes, when you're here, sometimes the best ideas I get are after 10 p.m. So if you think of something else that should be in the budget at any time, just call me or email me, and we will present this again back to you on the 24th. Moving on to the Bradenton CRA, if you add up the Manatee County contributions and the city contributions, they add up to approximately 5.4 million. I'm estimating that there's gonna be about 3 million worth of projects that are not gonna be completed this year that we're gonna move to next year. So it's gonna give us about 8.5 million in the budget. So for projects in, and I apologize. Oh no, never mind. 8.5 million of budget. So again, we have community visioning that we need to budget for. Under contractual services, I do need your feedback on Realize Bradenton, and it's a item for this current year later in our, I don't know if you want me to address it now or you want not discuss it.
Let's keep moving right now.
Oh, thank you. So I do need guidance on some of the events, for example, and the sponsorship level, so that will help me budget for next year. The other items are new items. Riverwalk maintenance is approximately the same as of now, but I will be looking at the $330K that was discussed during the city council meeting. If the CRA board is interested in the CRA paying for that. We have river lighting in the Riverwalk, potentially just like we have on Old Main Street, to potentially create that effect, add some lights, and the CRA to take on the maintenance of that. Riverwalk expansion project phase 4. Back in May, I thought we were being asked to fund additional $500K. Mr. McClellan said that's not the case, so I'm gonna be scratching that off from the budget. Riverwalk expansion maintenance. So the question that we want to ask you is, once it's built and it's open, who's gonna take on the maintenance? I believe the CRA is a proper way for us to maintain. Our mission is not only to eliminate slum and blight, but actually to prevent it from coming back, and this is one way of that. Streetscape maintenance.
Just
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Absolutely.
I was looking, I'm kind of going back to the CCRA where you have the 9th Avenue West Commercial Corridor redevelopment, 20,000, which that's, now, half of that.
Half of that
corridor-
will be Bradenton,
All right,
correct?
okay.
Yeah. And I think I was probably missing a zero because I actually would want to give much more than just
Yeah, I was
20,000.
thinking
So, but at least I didn't want to forget on putting the line item when I present it to you. But
And it's not.
going back to streetscape maintenance, with the discussion has come up whether we should hire a private firm to keep 12th Old Main Street streetscape clean, and so the initial estimate was 100,000, and I know Public Works is going to be giving us some more estimates in the next week or so. Old Main Street lighting, again, should the CRA be hiring a private firm to keep the maintenance of how old Main Street is looking right now. Another request I received from one of you is whether we want to add some directional signage for the Mineral Springs Park, that it's not as clear when you're driving up and down Manatee. I don't have a cost for that, but if we're interested in doing that, then we will get a quote for that. Code enforcement at $15,000, demolition services, and METV board meeting services. This one does not, again, right now include community policing, but that may change depending on the guidance you give us on the 19th. Capital outlay land acquisition, currently it's at $950. For this year, capital public art is $300,000 this year. With all the public art initiatives in the Mineral Spring Parks, it might be something that we need to up in order to get some quality, and we're looking at multiple pieces also. New sidewalks, $500K is what was budgeted. 455 was this year, so make it round to be at $500,000 if again this is a priority for you all. Under projects and grants, we have the different projects. At the very end, and I'm going to be adding Miller's Market and the 9th Avenue corridor study results. I've included, again, visioning. I've included Art Center Manatee. I know it will be coming up later for some discussion, but I just wanted to put a placeholder potentially. And also not included on the bottom are 3 projects that will be coming to you later. Home 2 Suites project, Project Caprice, and Project Reflect. And as projects keep coming up and redevelopment, we will have under redevelopment incentives and grant, we will put some money there so we have it for future things.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
In addition to the old Main Street lighting, I would like us to look at what other areas in the Bradenton CRA that we could include having some additional lighting to set up the feeling of ambiance, the feeling of place. I think that's very important to do. I get complaints all the time that all we do is spend money on Old Main Street. And I think that that's something that we need to look at and possibly expand.
Are we talking just Bradenton CRA right now, or are we talking
Well, you
about
have it in the
others?
Bradenton CRA right now.
Right.
And that one's the one,
Where,
that's
where
got all
else?
the money.
I mean, you gotta have the trees, so where else are you,
Well, but
thinking about, like up by the,
I'm thinking that we could have somebody walk around and identify trees that would be available. I think that we might want to speak with the clerk of the court and see if there's something that we could cooperatively do at the Judicial Center, the old historic courthouse, something along those lines. It's important, I mean, when people come to downtown, many times all they're doing is driving down Manatee Avenue to get to the beach. But if they see that we have the lights in the trees on Old Main Street, lights in other areas, it expands that understanding that this is a place that people care about.
We're gonna take a look at that. Maybe I can add a placeholder for like lighting initiative or project. And
That would be
then
wonderful.
throughout the year, we can identify some areas and bring them back to you. So any other comments, suggestions for the Bradenton
I think you're going to
CRA?
lose people if you don't keep going.
Okay. And then the 14th Street CRA. And what is interesting is, I know in the past we actually thought the CCRA was the one getting the least amount of money. Well, now you're not anymore. So actually, the 14th Street is gonna be we're gonna be receiving about $1 million, while the Central CRA is gonna get 1.4. So I think it may be the impact, maybe Tropicana values when a little bit more. I don't know, but I just wanted to point out that that was a bit of a surprise that
And the Village of the Arts is in the 14th Street.
is in the
CRA.
14th Street. So
Okay.
this is the one that right now we're getting the least amount of revenue. So we're gonna definitely need to be prioritizing projects and how we spend our money. So if you add up the two contributions, as I mentioned, we're gonna receive approximately $1 million this year. I expect around another 1.4 million to carry forward from projects from this year to next year. So we're looking at about $2.4 million for next year's budget. Consulting fees again, under contractual services, some of the same items. I included the relocation of the Chrysalis Longer since it was something you potentially identified that could happen. Public art, we raised it from 250 to 300K potentially with new property or other opportunities that we may have in the village. Land acquisition, left it at $1 million. And I realized it's mentioned there twice. So new sidewalks, approximately a lot of the 550 that we had budgeted is gonna transfer to next year. Park improvements, we left it at 50,000 and added the visioning under project and grants and the affordable housing. And if you want a line for affordable housing projects, and as I mentioned, not included, coming to you soon will be a request for the Astoria on 9th affordable housing projects for funding.
I don't see something as to be able to make sure that those properties that we've just acquired.
It's under redevelopment of newly purchased properties.
Understand that. I'm talking about just getting them mowed and cleaned up and that they stay that way.
Right.
Because
so
we
that-
cannot keep asking Public Works to do that.
It's under that line item.
Okay.
Yeah, all of that will be there. So I will be talking with Public Works as the next plan will be you gave us some guidance what you'd like to see so that we can do a conceptual map and then how to move forward from there, what expenses will be needed.
Okay.
And that's kind of a recap of some of the major proposals for this next year.
Okay. So, let's move forward. The suspension of the upstairs residential conversion grant.
Speak into the mic. I can't hear you, and you're sitting right here.
Suspension of the upstairs residential conversion grant program, which never did anything.
So back in 2019, the CRA created this grant program. Nobody has applied. We haven't given any money out yet. And recently we got a request, for if an Airbnb would qualify for this grant. And so I think when we read this grant, some of the stuff are not tightened up. It kind of has some old language that if you're still interested in having this grant, we want to bring it back to you for reconsideration. So we felt, so that people don't see it out there, that we suspend it for now, and then we'll come back to you in the future with recommendation on what grants we feel are the best for all of our CRAs.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
make a motion that we suspend the upstairs residential conversion grant program for at least 90 days until staff has an opportunity to review it and bring recommendations back to us.
Second.
All right, that's motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Done. 14th Street CRA, proposal for the impact study of the 14th Street West CRA-owned properties.
So at the last meeting, we began the discussion, and the board expressed interest that for us to negotiate, to look out for a consultant to do an impact study on the properties that we have on 14th Street West, where the substation is, as well as what our Daily Bread site used to be. And we also have a tentative closing in August for the third site on the south side. The two companies that had presented, that had made an offer, updated their proposals, which you have in your packet. REC, Regional Economic Consulting Group, and Business Flair. They both have representatives here. If you do have additional questions, or if you do want them to do a very brief presentation, I believe either company is going to be a great, I look forward to the result to look at what potentially, if a city hall moved to this site, what would be the impact, not just on the site, but to the whole 14th Street CRA. And I would love to hear examples of other cities and how they've benefited from such a move. And then that will help you and the city council make some decisions in the future. This is not a binding, it's just a study for your consideration.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, I didn't say earlier, so two of us have got a trip to make for League of Cities. So I'm going to be trying to watch the time. So rather than if anyone needs a presentation, we can do that. We have the documents in front of us. What were you, let's just wait and see where this can go if we want to spend time.
Mr. Chairman, is this something that we absolutely have to make a decision today on, because we are missing one of our council members, or a board member?
Well,
And my thought was, if we table this until our next regular meeting.
It's up to you. You had instructed me to bring it forward to this, so
All right.
whatever you want, we can push it or make a decision today.
And remember, the last time, the last board meeting, following COVID protocol, I was sitting at home and desperately trying to pay attention. But after about, the 9th hour of sitting and listening on a phone about something, it kind of got a little
all
squirrely.
right. Well, let me ask this then. So, okay. That's 2 weeks from now. I know I've been dealing with Mr. Perry, who is looking at trying to stay in front of the entire deal. Would people want to put that off? Because now I'm going to back it up and see if anyone wants presentations. What's the direction of the board?
I don't know what you all want to do. I mean, we've worked with, excuse me, we've worked with both of these firms.
Right.
They're good firms. I don't think we could go wrong either way.
Correct.
If you want to go ahead and make a decision, go ahead and make a decision.
I
But I don't
think-
hear
I
anybody
think
jumping up to make a motion.
I think they gave us presentations kind of the last time on ways they would go about it. It's 2 weeks, we'd be waiting 2 weeks to make a decision that we could make today.
Yeah, again, I'm just saying,
I got it, I understand, and I will be,
In case this helps, the timeline that they're proposing, the first firm, REC, is 5 weeks, and the total cost for the project is $22,350, and Business Flair is 4 weeks at $18,000, with an additional fee for additional services if we so wished. So you're looking at 4 to 5 weeks for a report and then another presentation. So whatever you all wish, I don't know if that helps you make a decision.
I'm not seeing anybody jumping up to do it, so I'll go in and see what happens. Make a motion that we accept the proposal from Regional Economic Consulting Group with regards to the 14th Street, what are we calling this? Impact study for the 14th Street CRA-owned properties.
Second.
okay, that is a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, thank you. Quote for 115 13th Avenue West, quote for additional demo removal.
Good afternoon. I'll try to keep this brief. Basically, what I wanted to do today is give you the update and then have some discussion with regard to the 14th Street properties that we purchased, the 5 parcels in the Village of the Arts. As you know, the properties the larger parcels with building structures on them have come down. There are a few items that were on separate parcels, separate property, property ID numbers that still need some demo work. So with that being said, we're talking about a garage unit. Can you see that okay? So the garage, it's more like a shed, also has in here a concrete pad and a smaller two-wheel concrete pad leading up to it. We've reached out to Graber Demo, who did the demolitions for the two other properties recently, and that was only after I checked with purchasing to make sure that this was allowed to do, that we didn't have to go out to bid, and was told, yes, we could do that. So we asked them to get back to us with a quote or an estimate. The total estimate for the removal of the garage is $3,400. They separately quoted us for demo of the driveway and the pad at $2,077. And then there's additional chain link fence. There's actually two parcels that have chain link fence existing on them that belong to us. In an effort to clean off the property and get it into a situation where it can be better seen, the fencing, and I'm sure you've all probably had a chance to get over there. I know Mary Ann and Patrick and Jane and Pam. So there's a lot of growth on the chain link fences. It's very difficult to see behind them. And so the last thing we want right now is to have a situation where camps are set up or there's, potential for public safety issue. So the entire amount of the three estimates given is $7,197. I did want to show you, Pat Wenzel, our building official, and I visited the shed. And in this case, you can see the termite damage, further termite damage in the fascias coming down. Once we broke into the shed, that is
No, she's saying that was because I drove by yesterday and it appeared to me that someone had broken into it. And I know that we've had a huge concern about it, so I call Ms. Kaiser immediately going, oh my God, somebody's broken into it. And she's like, it was us. We had to see what was inside it. It's going to be like, and it's like, are we going to, yes, we're going to set it up. It's going to be, we're going to make it so that nobody can get in there, but we had to get in there and see what it was. So
it is in rough shape. That's the actual ceiling with light panels. The outside is pretty much falling apart.
well, and the last thing we need is a child to climb up on top of it and have it give way. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to make a motion.
I have just a tad more.
Okay.
This is also, these are the two parcels. I outlined this as the green being chain link. And you can see on parcel 1, here is running north to south.
Yeah.
And then parcel 4 from east to west. So that would be coming down. That's the fencing that we're talking about, would be coming down. I did want to point out one thing because I learned something new yesterday. If you see, this is pine up here with the termite damage. I asked Pat, well, why is this, in pretty good shape? And it's because it's cypress. And I didn't know that back in the day that cypress was used in Florida because it'll outlast termites by over 100 years. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So there we are.
Okay.
So I would ask that, two things. Staff would like to reach out to a landscape contractor for the maintenance of the property and to keep it free of overgrowth and just keep up with it. We'd like to do that. And also, you know, come back to the board and discuss that opportunity and costs with you. And I would like if we could possibly get approval for the Graber demo.
Okay, I'm more than happy to make a motion that we enter into contract with Graber, is that how you say it, excavating? Not to exceed $72.50, because I don't know if you're gonna have like any extra tax or something on top of that. You know, you said it was,
Shouldn't be.
well, you said $7,197. Well, again, I was just trying to give you some wiggle room if something happened. And the other thing is with regards to getting a lawn service in there, it's the rainy season. We need to move quickly on this, because I begged Mr. McClellan to get his group over there and take care of it when I drove by and noticed that if I walked over to it, it would be past my waist. So,
All right.
yes, so and you know, they are running pillar to post these days. We really need to get somebody in there that's going to weekly pay attention to it.
The other part to be on that request for us to pursue that is we would also like to reach out to a tree service. I think it's very important that we have an arborist look at the trees, identify them, if they need trimming, and, you know, just recommendations. What are the conditions of the trees, trimming, care, and possible removal if necessary.
Okay, I'll second her motion, but I would like to discuss, I think you should get the arborist out there first
That's what we want.
so that they can push those trees over when they do this. That's what I'm saying. If there are trees that need to go out,
I think timing is going to be of the essence on
I wouldn't think an arborist would take that long. I mean, they can pretty much, Pat, am I wrong?
Well, we only removed the 2 trees that were right by the houses. I think that for the most part, we're gonna, you know, the trees, my concern, the trees along the perimeter, when we get to where people are gonna be parking underneath them, I just wanna make sure there aren't any big limbs that are gonna, we
Fall and
call them
hit
widowmakers.
cars.
So, but as far as the stuff in between, I'm not sure, just a minute. I don't know that we need to be removing more. We wanted to get the slum and blight out of there. And then the garage and the fence are the continuation. I would have liked to have seen that done then. But then there'll be some palms in between. I don't know that we need to clear cut the whole lot. I just wanted to open it up, so
Yeah.
I'm not
I just
sure.
didn't know if we had any invasive, like carrot woods and stuff like that.
There are a number of trees on that property. There are some that are invasive. There's laurel
Yeah.
oaks, there's carrot wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an invasive species. So, but in order to get a handle on it, like I say, there's a lot. There's queen palms.
But then we're gonna be looking at another big demo.
Well,
If they're doing it at the same
Are we
time.
going to have a demo company demo the trees, or are we going to have a tree service get rid of it?
Yeah, what will be left is tree work.
Mr. Peterson from Public Works went out and he found some invasive plants there and he marked them, is my understanding. So maybe if we can try to negotiate to add that to this quote, so if they see something in that vicinity that has that orange color that is already invasive, to add that in.
So do you want to have not to exceed $7,500 in case you have to add a little bit of money to take care of some demoing of some trees?
It's gonna be a lot cheaper if we do it at
Right,
this
now.
juncture than if you have to bring somebody back out
Oh, no,
another
I
time.
agree with you. I'm just thinking in my head of the expense.
Okay, not to exceed $8,000.
Yeah.
And
Do I hear aid one? Guys, I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not driving anywhere today, but I am trying to move this meeting along.
I think it's 2 different jobs. I think the demo is, I was in a tree business. There's no tree over there that a tree company can't come in and knock out.
But when you talk about getting roots and stuff out too, mean, if you're gonna ever, okay, I don't care.
But Jane, are we there yet? I
In
mean,
the
like,
case of the 2 trees that were taken down, the roots were not taken out. They were taken down with a stump. So
And see, that's what I'm saying, if you're over there with a front end loader knocking down buildings, they can push over the tree, and then you get the roots out.
depending on where it is, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful in it for any reason, but some of the locations of these trees are right on the property line. So they're not necessarily until we get somebody in there to really look at the survey. I want to make sure that we're not taking trees down that may belong to somebody else. And there are several along that property line. So I want to get it done as badly as you all do. But I want to be sure that we're not jumping the gun.
So I think, if I may, Chair, I agree with you. I think there's a twofold: the invasive that we can try to add on to this quote that we already know what those are, and then we'll still get an arborist out and a surveyor to make sure and kind of come back to you with the rest of the property on the corners, the other trees.
Okay.
What- I-
All right, we have a motion and a second.
what point did we want to have Carrie Price talk
Is this something she wants to talk about?
before we vote? Was this what you wanted to talk about, Carrie?
You have to,
You have to come up. Hi.
Hi, Carrie Price, resident of the Village of the Arts. I'll keep this brief. It was related to the previous demo. I just wanted to connect with everybody. I was a part of the Passion Mob about the trees who called and everything, and I did connect with Karen and Pat. I realized there was a lot of misinformation and just kind of a lot of people from the neighborhood spoke out and stuff, and I think the one thing I wanted to say is I left some of the conversations kind of upset because I think you felt like we didn't see you as an ally, and I know I'm only speaking for myself today, that we absolutely do. We understand that situation just kind of snowballed and got out of control, but we're very excited about this, and I just wanted to express that here in just this forum and just say we appreciate what's going on. We're always ready to dust off and just move forward, and so for my part, calling and everything, I was respectful, but I did not have all the information, so just excited to move forward, and I think the community is too, so.
Thank you
Carrie.
much.
Thank you, Carrie. All right.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second.
we've got a motion and a second. I've changed the amount on it, but do you want to just leave it at
Let's,
Sure.
yeah.
Mr. McClellan? I mean,
If I may make a recommendation, under normal circumstances, when Public Works makes a request for council approval or a construction contract or anything of that nature, we usually add a 10% contingency for potential change orders so that we don't have to come back to request.
and that's what I was doing, I thought, when I said the 73, not to exceed $7,300. Is that amenable to everyone? Does that, the
I'm the
second?
seconder, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a change in a second.
Mhm.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.
And just to clarify, 73.8 or the 10%? I'm not sure what the motion was about. Just so we can.
The motion was with the estimate that we received from the excavating company that we want to go forward with that, not to exceed $7,300.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, thank you. Bradenton CRA District, Art Center Manatee funding request.
So the Art Center Manatee, we have the executive director, Miss Carla Neerman here, but yesterday we spoke. Something new came up. Miss Neerman informed us that she would like to postpone and bring this forward at a future date. They are negotiating, or there's some discussion and going on regarding. And why don't you come, Carla, up here, and you'll do a better job.
Excuse me, I'm Carla Neerman, the Executive Director of Art Center Manatee. Excuse me, I knew I was going to do that. So we had a discussion yesterday about the fact that we are working on a PDP amendment for the master track, or where the sand pile is, by the Art Center. That is actually leased from the city to Bradenton Riverfront property, and then we sublet from Bradenton Riverfront property. That is in the works. We are hoping that we are going to be going, Catalyst, the developer, and the Art Center will be going before the city council, hopefully in August, if everything moves along, to the planning department, and then the city council in September. So it was requested that we hold back until that unfolds and gets wrapped up, and that I was assured that then I could come mid-year, in the middle of the year after the budget had already been agreed upon or voted on, to make a funding request at that time, that the money would be earmarked. So it was decided I wouldn't do my presentation today, but I really look forward to doing it in the near future.
And just to clarify, the budget is available. My recommendation is not to earmark it unless we do have a presentation today, but money is available in the future.
I got it.
But because the board has not given me direction, I wasn't going to earmark it. But again, if the board wants to go forward with that, the money is there. So that for sure, it's so.
I would like to see that money earmarked.
Okay.
I have to say, and I am a huge supporter of the Art Center, but they're nonprofit. We're taking tax dollars.
Which we have done since the DDA began. To support,
Not a lot.
To support organizations that are economic engines, that are people magnets, that bring people into our downtown. I know of times that
I'm fine with supporting them. I just think that's a big number.
all I'm saying is that I know of times that Art Center Manatee had one of 2 sites for the American watercolor exhibit in the state of Florida. And we would have tour buses roll up. And they would come in and they would go to the Art Center, and then they would be in our downtown, they'd be at our restaurants. I don't have any evidence to say that they spent the night because they were on a tour bus here, but I do know that it is quite the people magnet.
I agree, 100%. I was on the committee on Kiwanis that we've given, that voted to support them. It's not that I don't support them. I'm only questioning what our guidelines are.
What are the guidelines for giving this kind of money to a non-for-profit? And does it matter if it's for like a hard cost, like
From my experience, and I'll let also the CRA attorney if he has any comments. From my so it is I quoted in the master plan on your agenda memo some areas where I felt would support the request from the Art Center. So I feel the master plan supports us supporting cultural initiatives. Certain CRAs have made it a policy that they will not support nonprofits because of the argument that it is taxpayer money, they don't contribute into the CRA in taxes. So some of them have taken that avenue, but it's a policy that they have. Mm-hmm. Some others have said that they think that's a narrow definition because nonprofits would contribute through visitors, through hotels, rooms, through just the daily interaction that happens. So it is up to a CRA board to make that determination, but I don't feel that, I think it would be appropriate. Actually, this came months ago that it was requested. I had to do extensive research to find out if they are in the CRA. Finally, I spoke to somebody from the property appraiser's office, and when we looked at the property card, they assured me that and that's why I included the 2 property cards. It does say Bradenton, DDA. So yes, they will not be contributing tax money, but we are eligible. They are in our CRA.
They contribute tax money, they don't contribute ad valorem
Ad valorem
taxes.
taxes. Yes, thank you.
And if I could say that the Arts Center supports over 50 people with jobs. We have out-of-town workshops where people come the farthest place has been Dubai. They do stay in hotels. They go to our restaurants. They enjoy our parks. There's an intangible value. And I studied extensively the mission of the CRA. We are completely aligned with that. And I feel like there's a way that the support is important if we're going to make a rich cultural community that attracts people. And that is all very tangible.
I want to be very clear. I am a huge supporter of you guys.
I know.
We went through this before when we were giving money to Meals on Wheels for that 9th Avenue, and I thought there were rules in place, because I remember I think we went to 50,000 on that, which was at the time kind of thought of so I thought there were some rules in place, and we changed it that we could go up to 50, and then they changed the language a little bit. But I mean, do you know what I'm talking about?
You're talking about Renaissance?
Yes.
Yeah, that was for a fence grant. That was all fencing.
But I remember there was a lot of discussion because it was a
There
nonprofit.
was no money given to them other than, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
There was no money for them to spend. We took care of
The fence.
the fence, the decorative fencing.
Well, so the request is on hold right now.
Correct.
I would support this. And we have time to make sure that this is 100% legit and legal for us to do that. So we have time to do that. I mean, I would support it. I heard you say you support it. I heard you say you support it, so.
It sounds like we've already done the research.
If I could say just one more thing as well.
Decide right now, is the point I'm making.
Right, oh, okay.
We
The
don't have-
front yard, where we are going to have a public community park and sculpture garden, which is going to change the landscape of downtown and the entry into Bradenton. This is not just about the Arts Center. This is about the CRA and our community as well.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, if the question is about the CRA providing funding to a not-for-profit, we have done that research, and there aren't any legal restrictions on doing that. And we've discussed it with Katerina. It is an option as a policy for the board, like she said.
Okay.
So we're tabling this, or this will be coming back to us after the PDP has been.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you want me to, in the budget, to earmark
What?
some funding, and then that's up for discussion at that point?
Well, that's my
that-
request, but I'm
Well,
just
and-
one.
And that budget, just to remind everyone, was 5.4 million with a 3 million surplus. So it's not as though we can't find the money.
And the request was a 3-year,
200,000
200,000 per
I mean,
year, so.
We could definitely carve that out. That's not a problem.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, everybody.
So we'll work together, and we'll reschedule at the next meeting immediately after the city council discussion.
All right. I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, folks.
Okay. And then contract with Realize Bradenton.
Last week, we had another meeting with the executive director of Realize Bradenton and their manager, and it went very well. We had great progress. We actually, I feel we're at probably 99% to finalize things. Mrs. Isham has asked that if we can move this item from this meeting to August 24th, because she would like the opportunity for her board to also look at the proposal, as well as their attorney to review the proposed contract. And so that's the request, to move it forward to August 24th. In the meantime, I'll send you at the end, after this meeting, what the current proposal is, so that I also get your feedback in case there's any major changes that you would like to see.
Okay.
Did you, Ms. Price, did you want to add anything, or?
Your statement was the same as mine.
Okay.
All right. So, next item says, other discussion, new business, or / adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I just wanted to let you know quickly, we just got great news. Would you like Jennifer to come on the board? What she'd like to?
Yeah, I had raised my hand while you guys were discussing the taking care of the trees. I'm the vice chair of the Bradenton Tree Board, and we have 3 arborists on panel, and I am sure that one of them would be happy to go out and check out those trees and give you the recommendation from a certified arborist for free. That's what we're a part of this community for. So just email me, and I can get you in touch with any of the 3, and we'll take care of it for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Thank you.